Hello folks, and welcome back to another edition of BC Renovation Magazine. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I install these interior passage doors in this old mobile home. And we always have some interesting things to deal with when we do this in a mobile home. And I'll show you how I did it. If you're interested in that, stick around. Okay, so I've taken that door unit completely apart. So you can see here where I've got, there's the header and then there's the two side jambs. I've also taken the hinges off. And so now I'm ready to cut these down to make them fit my opening. So there's the door over there. So just basically I've just taken it all apart so I can work on it. All right, so now I'm going to measure my jamb. So what I have there is a 2x3 framing, and then I've got 1/2 inch drywall on either side of that. So, the measurement that I'm looking for here is about 3 3/8 of an inch. That's how wide I want my jamb to be. And so you can see my jamb measures about 4.5 inches wide from side to side. So I have to cut it down to make my 3 3/8. So I will be cutting off this side of the jamb. The door fits into this side of the jamb. So what I've done is just set up my table saw over here. Okay, and then I'll just run that through and just rip that piece off to get it to the right width. Okay, so there I've got the jamb all cut down. And this is the piece here that I've taken off. So that's how much I took off, about 1 inch. And so I've got this all put together again. And so from the factory, where this came from, the side jambs are stapled to the head jamb there. And so you just have to knock it apart. So to put it back together, I don't put any glue or anything in that. What I've done is taken my pinner, and I've used the 2-inch nails or pins, and then just pinned it back together this way here. And then for some extra security, I've also run one 2-inch screw into the jamb, through the side jamb and into the head jamb, just to help hold it together. Once it's installed, it's not going anywhere. So now I'm ready to hang the door, put the door back on, and then take it in and install it in the opening there. Okay folks, so I've got my door unit just standing up in my opening here now. And so you can see it's just standing in there basically. And so now you can see that, my jamb width is correct. So, I'm flush with the wall on the inside here and flush with the wall on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of pro tips here. So the way I start when I go about with this installing the door is, when you're handling it yourself, it's kind of a little bit awkward. And, so what I do is I stand the door in the opening, and I open the door, and then I put a little block under there, because you've got the clearance under the door wants to fall out on you. So if you put that little block underneath there, just holds the door up so that it doesn't, fall out like this. And then I always start at the top with my fastening of the door in. And so you can see here, I've got these cedar shims, and I've just driven one in there. And then likewise over here, okay, to just pinch the door in the opening there, okay? So that's what's holding the door now, is those it's just friction. And it's those shims that are holding it. So they're pressing the door against the opening. And I've always start with my hinge jamb first. And so what I've done here is I've just checked. I've lined up my door, with the wall on the inside and outside. And then down here, same thing at the bottom. And then I just put my level on here and just check to make sure that my jamb is plumb this way. All right, so I'll just grab the level here and show you. Okay, so if I put put my level there, I can see that, you know, I'm level. If you don't have the door level this way, what will happen is the door will want to, you know, move on its own. It'll open or shut on its own. So once I have established that, get to that point, now what I'm going to do to hold this in place, I'm going to start nailing it in. And so I'm going to place a nail through the inside of the jamb, the thin part of the jamb where the door closes against, just right there underneath that shim, and one over on this side as well, and that will hold it. And what I'm using for that is just some of these right here. I'm using these 3-inch 10D nails. It's a finishing nail. Okay, just like such. And so I'll be just nailing it in with that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the nailing now. Okay, so my door is in place there now, and I'll just kind of explain to you how these shims work and sort of the sequence that you go. It's kind of hard to record this here on my own, but so basically what we did, you'll recall that we started at the top, okay? So we start at the top and we basically get our frame centered in our rough opening sideways, okay? Now you can see that I'm pushing, the shim is pushing against the top jamb there, okay? That's where we want to be. We don't want to be down here. If we're down here, what happens is it starts to bow the jamb, so we want to stay away from that. Let me see here. Trying to get a better picture for you. Anyway, so you start up at the top and we center it in the opening, and then we get our hinge jamb in there plumb. So we want to be in there plumb this way and this way. And the way we get it plumb this way is we use the shims, okay? And we slide the shims in the space between the jamb and the wall, all right? And if everything is straight, we should end up with kind of the same measurement from the edge of the jamb to the wall, edge of the jamb to the wall, top and bottom, all right? But if this wall is not plumb, you sort of have to forget about that. You need to get this plumb, otherwise your door's going to swing. So once you have that plumb, then we go ahead and we put another nail down at the bottom and pin it right at the bottom. So now our unit is pinned at the bottom and the top, okay? Then we can go ahead, after we've got that set, then we can go ahead and put this nail in here, all right? And we're just, as you can see, we're just flush with the wall, right? Once we're at that point, then we close the door, and at this point you kind of just throw your level away. And then we want to put a shim in behind the top hinge and the bottom hinge. And we slide the hinge in, the wedge in from the hinge side so that the thick side is out, the thin side is in. Now the reason that we do that is that we want to sort of tip the hinge away like this. If we do it the other way, from the other side, what can happen is we can get a situation where we're hinge bound, and when you're hinge bound, when you close the door on this side, it wants to bounce back. It'll bounce back on you, okay? That's hinge bound. So the hinges, now these shims that we use, you know, we just buy these little packs of shims and these little shim packs like that, and you just slide those shims in and out. You can see how they're tapered, and so you just slide them back and forth, you know, to get the distance that you want. So then we've got that pinned at the very bottom. We've got that pinned at the very top. Now we start pushing on that hinge, and what we want to do is we want to try and get a consistent gap all the way up there. Once we have that set, then the next is to adjust this side for the height. So we need to move this side jamb up and down in order to get it so that we have the same gap across the top of the door up there. All right, and we do that again with another shim. Here we put it underneath the jamb, and we had to lift it up. Okay, so once we have established that we've got that this jamb at the right height, okay, and then we've got the same gap. Then we put a nail, we nail this up here, all right, and then we nail it at the bottom, okay? And here again, we use our shims, okay? There you can see the shims, and we push that so that we have the same gap at the bottom, all right, as at the top, okay? Then, once we have it set at the top and the bottom, okay, then we have to put shims. I always put one at the lock set so that it holds where the lock set is, and then I usually do, depending on if it needs it or not, I'll put another one midway. All right, and so right underneath these shims is where I've put one of those 3-inch nails. Okay, so you can see every place there's a shim, we have a 3-inch nail going in there. All right, likewise on the hinges. Okay, there you can see our shim on the hinge. It's pushing on the hinge. Same thing down here. Now those nails will get, they're inside where the door is, and so when we get to painting, we will be putting you know, some filler in there, and then you'll never see them. Okay. So, kind of like Chinese acupuncture here. You got all these little sticks sticking out now. So the next step is going to be to put the casings on, and we're going to be using the same casings that we used on the window here. I hope this camera angle is okay here, folks. I'm trying to do a little bit closer for you to see it. So now, to get rid of these, we have to trim those flush, and so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can just, you know, take a knife, like a utility knife, and just cut them. I like to use my little oscillating saw, and I just go in here. Okay, and I have to do that all the way around. So once I get those shims all clear out of the way, then I'll be marking my reference marks on there, my 3/16 to install my casings. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this all off now, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, there's our door is all hung now. I've trimmed all the shims out. Okay, and I have gone around and I've made my reference marks there, okay, to install my casings. And so if you've been following along with this, you know, you've seen me do lots of casings here on the windows and stuff. So we're just going to carry on with that. It's the same as the windows. I'm using the same casings. Everything is the same. So now, if your door has been properly installed, you can put it anywhere, and it will stay put. Okay. If the door moves on its own, that means that you haven't got that back hinge jamb is not installed plumb. That will cause your door to move on its own. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop the casings on now, and we just about got a wrap on this one. All right, folks, so there you have it. You know, that's my interior passage doors installed. So this is the one to the little closet in the back room here, and yeah, so that's a job that's a little bit further advanced as far as skills go, but you can see that you know, they turn out pretty good. You just work away at it there, and yeah, so that's it. We'll catch you on the next one, folks. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.